It is Thursday, December 13th, 2012. We're live in the Wall Street Journal newsroom in New York. Today on WSJ Lunch Break, Lincoln, starring Daniel Day-Lewis, leading the field with Golden Globe nominations. We're going to be talking about that right now with Clemency Burton-Hill. She's joined us here on Lunch Break. Big year for Lincoln and a lot of others, but let's just remind everybody, they're always like, wait, the Golden Globes, that's not the Oscars. What is it?
What are they?
What are they?
And who are the Hollywood Foreign Press Association?
Right, why do we care? Right.
They're a group of about 80 freelance writers. And I mean, the Golden Globes have traditionally been always seen as the precursor to the Oscars for about the last 2 decades. Around 2/3 of the time that the Golden Globes have announced a certain film, best film, it's gone on to win at the Oscars. So it's not by any means guaranteed, but it certainly is an indicator of what we can expect at the Academy Awards a month later. So the Golden Globes will be taking place in LA on the 13th of January. And as you say, Lincoln is very much leading the pack. 7 nominations.
Seven nominations. Let's get to best motion picture for drama. They break these categories out, drama and musical comedy. So let's start with drama. What are we seeing?
So drama, we're seeing Argo, Django Unchained, Life of Pi, Lincoln, and Zero Dark 30. Those are the movies. I mean, everyone's going to be saying that Lincoln is the front runner here. It is the one that we've seen across the whole awards season so far. What's interesting about the Golden Globes this year, and people are saying that they're kind of more important perhaps than they've ever been, because it's announced its picks just 4 days before the Oscar announcements are going to be made, which is an earlier onset of Oscar voting this year.
So maybe they could be influencing that a little bit?
So they're looking at films like Life of Pi and Moonrise Kingdom and Django Unchained, none of which have fared particularly well in other awards announcements this season. So they didn't fare particularly well at the SAG Awards, for example, the Screen Actors Guild Awards. Now they have this Golden Globe momentum behind them. There's a question of like whether that means that, you know, in 4 days' time the Oscars are going to take more notice of them. So I think there's a definite sense that the Golden Globes are maybe more influential, have more of an impact this year than ever before. All
right, good. And we're seeing, let's go to comedy now. Best motion picture for comedy musical. We're seeing Les Mis, which I know you saw a preview of not long ago. You said you spent the entire time with tissues. Is that right?
Right. I mean, it was incredible because, you know, I've seen that show on stage so many times. The audience seemed to absolutely love it. And as you say, this is a specific category that the Golden Globes do that don't happen in other award ceremonies. The best motion picture for comedy or musical. Salmon Fishing in the Yemen, I'm going to pick up on. That's an interesting one. That was a tiny little film, really, that came out last spring, and it's fared incredibly well across the Globe nominations. Both of its stars, Ewan McGregor and Emily Blunt, have both been nominated. So it's interesting to see how these little movies sometimes do creep in amongst the big boys.
I mean, Best Exotic Marigold Hotel as well. I mean, you've got that with the Salmon Fishing in the Yemen, and then you have Les Mis, which sort of seems, you know, inevitably it's destined to come in and squash those two.
Right.
But we'll see.
Silver Linings Playbook is also in that category, and that's been hugely well acclaimed. People are loving that movie. It's done very well. So yeah, it sort of feels wide open as to how this is all going to play out.
Let's talk about Best Actor in a drama, a motion picture drama. Who have we got coming in there?
So the big one, Daniel Day-Lewis for Lincoln. But he's up against Richard Gere, John Hawkes for The Sessions, Joaquin Phoenix for The Master, and Denzel Washington. I mean, it's a hefty category.
They're showing right now, this is another category breaking out Best Actor of Comedy or Musical. So we're seeing a whole different lineup of gentlemen there, including Hugh Jackman, who's in Les Mis.
I mean, he really is sensational in that movie.
Kind of nice to have he and Daniel Day-Lewis out of the same category, right? Gives them each a little bit of a break since they're forerunners. TV now, they do TV as well with the Golden Globes. Let's dig into that category a little bit. I mean, Homeland getting a bunch of nods again. Who's going to be squaring off, Clemmy?
Well, I think the big ones are going to be Homeland versus Downton Abbey, probably. I mean, Homeland has the chance to defend its crown from last year. It's done incredibly well. Claire Danes and Damian Lewis, its 2 stars. They won Golden Globes last year. They won big across the awards, and they're up against it again this year. But, you know, you wouldn't necessarily want to be going against Maggie Smith from Downton Abbey, Michelle Dockery. I mean, a word for the Brits, in fact, I should say. They've done incredibly well across the board. Daniel Day-Lewis, Helen Mirren, Rachel Weisz, Emily Blunt, Judi Dench, Maggie Smith. It's a pretty hefty category in terms of all the Brits being nominated. So.
All right, a lot of categories out there, more online on WSJ.com. Thanks for giving us a preview. Going to be interesting to watch this year, just like you say. I mean, an interesting precursor to the Oscars, maybe a little more emphasis on it. Thanks, Clemmy.
Thanks.